All right, so welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at a really interesting topic, and it's about gratitude and zakat in Islam.
Oh, that's a great topic.
And we're going to be kind of like looking at two different YouTube podcast scripts that talk about it, and I'm kind of curious to get your take on it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to dive into those scripts. I think they offer a really unique perspective on these two concepts, especially like how they're so interconnected.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the main mission today is like to explore that connection, right? Like how expressing gratitude for what you have can lead to actions that like actually benefit your entire community.
Absolutely. Like imagine a system where by being grateful for your own blessings, you end up purifying your wealth and empowering others around you.
Right, exactly. And that's what we're going to try to kind of like unpack today, this powerful link. So, should we start with gratitude then?
Yeah, let's do it. I think it's a great place to begin.
Okay, cool. So, one of the scripts, it calls gratitude or shukr in Arabic. It says that it's a lot more than just saying thank you.
Oh, for sure. It's way more than just like a quick thanks. It's like this whole practice, a way of being. It involves your heart, your tongue, and even your actions.
Okay, so it's like a really holistic thing.
Absolutely. The scripts actually break it down into these three components: gratitude of the heart, gratitude of the tongue, and gratitude of the limbs.
Gratitude of the limbs. What does that even mean? That's a new one for me.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? So it basically means using your blessings, the good things you have, to actually do good things in the world, like helping others, praying, performing good deeds. All of those things are like expressions of gratitude through your actions, through your limbs.
Oh, okay. So it's not enough to just like feel grateful inside. You have to actually like live it, put it into action.
Exactly. It's about aligning your actions with your appreciation for all the blessings that you've been given. Like making that gratitude real, making it tangible.
I see. It kind of reminds me of that story about the Prophet Muhammad, the one where he insists on gathering firewood with his companions, even though, they want him to do something else, something they see as more important.
Yeah, that's a great example. It shows his humility, right? Like he didn't see any act of service as beneath him. And he approached even those seemingly small tasks with a sense of gratitude.
That's a powerful edge. And you know what's interesting? One of the sources even quotes a verse from the Quran about the impact of gratitude. It's from Surah Ibrahim, verse 7. It says, "If you are grateful, I will surely increase you in favor."
Wow, that's amazing. It's like a direct promise, right? Like be grateful and you'll receive even more blessings.
Right. Okay, so gratitude is key. Sign me up for that. But honestly, like how do you actually cultivate that kind of gratitude in everyday life, Life gets so busy and it's easy to just forget to appreciate the little things.
It's true. It is really easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle and forget to just like pause and appreciate what we have. But the scripts, they offer some really practical tips on how to cultivate gratitude. Like one thing that really stuck with me was the idea of starting and ending your day with gratitude. Like just imagine waking up each morning and taking a moment to thank God for the gift of a new day, your health, your loved ones.
Yeah, I like that. It's so simple, but it's powerful, right? Just taking that moment to shift your perspective, to focus on the good.
Exactly. And then doing the same thing at the end of the day, reflecting on all the good things that happened, big or small, just kind of making it a habit.
That makes sense. And if you're someone who likes to write things down, one of the scripts also suggested keeping a gratitude journal, just jotting down 3 things that you're grateful for each day. It can be anything, but the act of writing it down makes you really acknowledge it.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I've heard that keeping a gratitude journal can really help to shift your focus to the positive and make you more aware of all the blessings in your life.
Yeah, I can see how that would work. But what about when things are tough? Life isn't always sunshine and roses. How can you find things to be grateful for when you're going through a difficult time? The scripts touched on that, right?
Right, they talked about the importance of reframing challenges and finding the good even in difficult situations. It's not about denying the difficulty or pretending everything is okay. It's more about recognizing that even in those challenging times, there are still things to be grateful for. There are still blessings. And there are always opportunities for growth and learning.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like those tough times can teach you resilience, or they can help you discover hidden strength you didn't even know you had. So there's always something to be grateful for, even when things are hard.
Absolutely. And remembering that can make a huge difference in how you approach those challenges.
Okay, so we've talked of this feeling of gratitude, that inner state of appreciation. Now, how does that connect to zakat? The scripts seem to be pointing to a pretty strong connection there.
Yeah, there's a really powerful link between the two. The word zakat itself, it actually translates to purification or growth. It's about purifying both your wealth and your soul.
I see. So we're not just talking about some kind of optional charity here. It's something deeper than that.
Right, exactly. Zakat is actually one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It's a fundamental principle. And you know what's interesting? One of the scripts quotes a verse from the Quran about zakat. It's from Surah 9, verse 103. It says, "Take, O Muhammad, from their wealth a charity by which you purify them and cause them to increase."
So it's almost like by giving a portion of your wealth, you're actually purifying it and causing it to increase. That's a pretty profound concept.
Yeah, it is. It challenges the way we usually think about wealth, right? It suggests that true abundance comes not from hoarding, but from sharing.
It's like zakat is a way to express your gratitude in a really tangible way. You're acknowledging that everything you have ultimately comes from a higher power, and you're using it to benefit others.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our blessings are not just for us to enjoy in isolation. They're meant to be shared and used to create a more just and compassionate world.
And the scripts describe some incredible things that zakat can do, eradicating hunger, funding education, supporting healthcare. It's honestly amazing to think about the impact that consistent zakat contributions could have, if everyone who is supposed to give actually gave.
It's mind-blowing, right? Think about all the lives that could be touched, the communities that could be transformed, access to food, education, healthcare. These are basic human rights that zakat can help to guarantee.
Yeah, it's like creating a ripple effect of generosity. One act of giving leads to another, and so on. It's about tackling some of the world's most pressing issues at their root.
And it shows a deep commitment to social justice, right? It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected and that the well-being of one is tied to the well-being of all.
This all makes a lot of sense to me, but let's get a little more practical for a second. For people who might be listening who are like new to this concept of zakat, how does it actually work? How much do you have to give, and who does it go to?
Yeah, those are great questions. And, the scripts actually go into quite a bit of detail about the mechanics of zakat. One of them explains that it's calculated as 2.5% of a Muslim's savings and wealth that's been held for a full lunar year. So that includes things like cash, gold, silver, investments, even business assets. But, you subtract your basic needs first. It's not about, like, taking away what you need to survive.
Oh, okay. So it's like a specific portion of what you've accumulated over time.
Exactly. And in terms of who it goes to, the Quran actually outlines specific categories of people who are eligible to receive zakat. This includes those living in poverty, those who are struggling to meet their basic needs, those burdened by debt, and also those who are working to collect and distribute zakat itself. It's really about alleviating hardship and empowering individuals and communities.
I see. It's very targeted then, very specific.
It is. And one of the scripts mentions that there are resources like Islamic organizations and zakat calculators available to help people figure out how much they need to give and how to distribute it properly.
Oh, that's really helpful. So, if someone's listening and they're like, okay, this all sounds great, but where do I even start? Those resources would be a good place to begin.
Definitely. And you know what I found really inspiring? There's this story in one of the scripts about a man who went to the prophet seeking guidance on purifying his wealth through zakat. And the prophet actually encouraged him to give beyond the minimum requirement, like to go above and beyond out of a genuine desire to help others.
That's a powerful story. It shows that generosity isn't just about fulfilling an obligation. It's about having that sincere desire to make a difference.
Exactly. It speaks to the true spirit of Islam, a religion that emphasizes both personal piety and social responsibility.
And I think what we're seeing here is that gratitude and zakat are really intertwined. They're both about recognizing the blessings in your life and using them to make a positive impact.
Absolutely. They represent this beautiful synergy between inner transformation and outward action. It's about becoming a better person, a more grateful person, and then using that inner growth to create a better world around you.
It's like this beautiful cycle of giving and receiving, gratitude and generosity. And I think it's a message that resonates deeply with people of all faiths and backgrounds. Everyone can relate to the desire to make a difference and to create a more just and compassionate world.
Yeah, for sure. And I think these concepts offer a really powerful framework for doing just that.
I completely agree. We were just talking about how important action is when it comes to gratitude and zakat. But what does that actually look like, in our daily lives? Like, how can we actually put these concepts into practice? The scripts we're looking at, they offer some practical advice on how to cultivate gratitude. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it's really important to move beyond just the theory, right? And actually start putting these ideas into action. One of the scripts talks about mindful awareness, which I think is a really powerful practice. It's about taking those moments throughout the day to just, Pause and intentionally notice all the good things you have in your life, no matter how small they might seem.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good way to like shift your perspective. It's easy to just rush through the day without really like appreciating those little moments, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all do that sometimes. It's like we get so caught up in our to-do lists and our routines that we forget to just stop and really savor the simple things. Mindful awareness is all about breaking free from that autopilot mode and really tuning in to, the beauty and the goodness that's all around us.
It's like training yourself to see the good even when things aren't, perfect. The scripts mention something about that too, right? Like about finding the good in challenges.
Exactly. It's not about pretending that everything is okay or ignoring the difficulties. It's more about acknowledging the challenges while also recognizing the opportunities for growth and learning that they present.
Right. It kind of ties back to what we were talking about earlier, about God testing us within our limits. There's always something to be learned, even in those tough times.
Absolutely. And that learning can be a blessing in itself, right? Like discovering your own resilience, your own inner strength. It's about finding that silver lining, that glimmer of hope amidst the storm.
I like that. Finding that glimmer of hope. That's a really nice way to put it. The script also talked about the power of expressing gratitude to others. So it's not just an internal feeling, right? It's about sharing that gratitude with the people around us.
You're absolutely right. Expressing gratitude to others, it not only makes them feel good, but also reinforces those positive feelings within ourselves. A simple thank you can go a long way in strengthening relationships and creating a more harmonious atmosphere.
It's about acknowledging the good that other people bring into our lives, right? Whether it's through their words, their actions, or just their presence. Speaking of writing things down, I remember the scripts also mentioned gratitude journals. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure, gratitude journals, they're a really powerful tool for cultivating gratitude. It's basically the idea of regularly taking time to reflect on your blessings and then writing them down. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a simple notebook where you jot down a few things each day that you're grateful for.
Okay, so it's like creating a physical record of all the good in your life.
Exactly. And it's something you can look back on later, when you're maybe feeling down or discouraged. It's a reminder of all the things you have to be thankful for.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about how to cultivate gratitude on a personal level, but now I'd like to hear more about the impact of zakat on individuals and communities. We talked about its potential to transform society, but I'm curious to explore some concrete examples of that. Like how does zakat actually make a difference in people's lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the scripts, they actually provide some really powerful insights into that. They talk about how Zakat can help to break the cycle of poverty, provide access to education and healthcare, and empower individuals to become self-sufficient.
It's inspiring to think about that ripple effect, like one act of generosity can have this cascading impact, touching countless lives and creating positive change that extends far beyond the initial recipient.
One of the scripts specifically highlighted the impact of Zakat on education. Like imagine a child who was denied access to learning because of, financial constraints. And then through Zakat, they're given the opportunity to go to school, to develop their minds, and to pursue their dreams. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really amazing to think about. Education is so powerful. It can be that key that unlocks a brighter future for so many kids.
Absolutely. It equips individuals with the knowledge and skills they need to break free from the limitations of poverty and to contribute to the well-being of their communities.
And it's not just education. There's also the impact of zakat on healthcare, right? Something that a lot of us take for granted, but access to quality medical care is essential for a healthy society.
You're so right. The script talked about how Zakat can help to fund hospitals, clinics, medical programs. It's about ensuring that everyone has access to the treatment they need, regardless of their financial situation.
It's about alleviating suffering and promoting well-being. It's a really beautiful expression of compassion and a recognition of our shared humanity.
And it goes beyond just addressing immediate needs. Zakat can also be used to create economic opportunities. Like one of the scripts gave the example of individuals receiving support to start small businesses, enabling them to become financially independent and provide for their families with dignity.
I love that. It's not just about handouts. It's about empowering people to become self-sufficient and to contribute to their communities in a meaningful way.
That's the true essence of Zakat, right? It's not just charity. It's about social justice. It's about creating a society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness, understanding that the well-being of one is intertwined with the well-being of all. Speaking of interconnectedness, the scripts also talked about the spiritual benefits of zakat. Like, it's not just about the material impact, right? There's also a profound spiritual dimension to it.
Yeah, absolutely. The spiritual dimension is just as important as the material impact. For the giver, zakat is an act of purification, of gratitude. It's about recognizing that everything we have is a gift from a higher power, and that we're merely trustees. We're entrusted with using our wealth in ways that benefit others.
It's a reminder that we don't really own anything, right? Everything belongs to God. And by giving zakat, we're purifying our wealth and acknowledging that it's meant to be shared, not hoarded.
And for the receivers, a cat could be a source of hope and dignity. It's a reminder that they're not forgotten, that their community cares for them, and that they deserve support and respect.
It's about restoring a sense of belonging, and empowering people to overcome their challenges with grace and resilience.
Exactly. Zakat fosters a sense of shared humanity, of empathy and compassion. It's about creating a society where everyone feels supported and valued, where no one is left behind.
I think it's also important to kind of demystify zakat, and make it accessible for everyone. So, can you talk a little bit about the practicalities of giving zakat? Like, how does someone actually go about doing it?
Sure. One of the scripts provided a really helpful breakdown of the process. So the first step is determining your eligibility to pay zakat. This involves assessing your wealth and making sure that it meets the minimum threshold, which is known as the nisab.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of the nisab, but I'm not really sure what it means.
So the nisab is basically the minimum amount of wealth that you need to possess for zakat to become obligatory. It's equivalent to the value of 85 grams of gold or 595 grams of silver.
Okay. So, if your wealth exceeds that threshold, then you're eligible to pay zakat. But how do you actually calculate the amount that you need to give?
Right, so the standard rate for zakat is 2.5% of your total zakatable assets. And that includes things like cash, gold, silver, investments, business assets, agricultural produce. But it's important to remember that you only pay zakat on assets that have been held for a full lunar year.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's calculated on the accumulated wealth over time, not on every single transaction or income that you receive.
Exactly. And then, once you've calculated the amount of zakat that's due, the next step is distributing it to those who are eligible to receive it. We already talked about the categories of people who are entitled to receive zakat, as outlined in the Quran. But one of the scripts also mentioned that, you can give your zakat to charitable organizations that are, involved in distributing it to those in need.
That's a good point. There are so many reputable Islamic charities out there that are doing incredible work, in areas like poverty alleviation, education, healthcare, disaster relief. So donating to one of those organizations can be a really effective way to ensure that your zakat reaches the people who need it most.
Definitely. And, if anyone is feeling overwhelmed or unsure about any aspect of zakat, they should never hesitate to seek guidance from knowledgeable individuals or Islamic scholars. There are people who can provide personalized advice based on their specific circumstances.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think the main takeaway here is that, zakat isn't meant to be this burdensome or confusing obligation. It's really a beautiful act of worship. It's a tangible expression of our gratitude to God, and a powerful tool for creating a more just and compassionate world.
It's about recognizing our shared humanity, extending a helping hand to those in need, and contributing to the collective well-being of our communities.
It's about understanding that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the richness of our hearts and the positive impact that we make on the lives of others. And I think that's a really, really beautiful way to sum up the essence of zakat. So we've been talking a lot about the practical stuff, but I kind of want to circle back to the spiritual side of things, the spiritual dimension of gratitude and zakat. The scripts we've been looking at, they really emphasize this connection. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that aspect.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how these concepts work on so many different levels. Like the sources we're looking at, they highlight this really beautiful connection between gratitude and zakats. Gratitude being that inner recognition of, all the blessings in your life, and zakat being that outward manifestation, that concrete way of expressing that appreciation.
Yeah, it's like a feedback loop almost, right? Like the more gratitude you feel, the more generous you become. And the more you give, the more grateful you feel.
Exactly. It breaks down this idea that we're all these isolated individuals, just kind of fending for ourselves. And it points to this web of interconnectedness, this idea that our actions, our intentions, they impact not just ourselves, but the entire community around us.
One of the scripts called Zakat, like a spiritual investment. Like it's not about losing wealth, it's about gaining something much more valuable.
Yeah, that's such a great way to put it. It's about investing in something that transcends material wealth, something that really nourishes your soul. And it's about investing in the well-being of your community, recognizing that true abundance comes from sharing and from caring for one another.
It takes a lot of trust, though, doesn't it, to believe that even when you give a portion of your wealth away, you'll still be taken care of.
It does. It requires a certain level of surrender, like recognizing that you're not in complete control, that there's something bigger than yourself at play. But in that surrender, there's a kind of liberation, you know. It frees you from this constant striving for more, this feeling of never having enough. And it allows for a much deeper sense of purpose and meaning.
The scripts also talk about how gratitude itself, like just the feeling of gratitude, can actually shape your character. Like it can lead to qualities like humility and contentment, things that, we don't always see a lot of in today's world.
Right. Those are such important qualities. And they're often overlooked, in a society that's constantly telling us that we need more, that we're not enough. Gratitude is like this antidote to all of that. It's a reminder of the abundance that we already have.
It's about shifting and focus to what you do have, not what you're lacking, right? And that can lead to a sense of contentment that's not dependent on, external circumstances or material possessions.
Exactly. Contentment becomes a choice, a way of approaching life that goes beyond the up and downs of circumstance. It's about finding peace and fulfillment from within.
I want to touch on the societal impact of Zakat again for a moment. The scripts painted a pretty vivid picture of what consistent Zakat contribution could do on a global scale. It's a powerful vision.
It really is. Imagine a world where poverty is eradicated, where everyone has access to quality education and healthcare, where basic human needs are met for everyone. That's the kind of world that Zakat can help to create.
Yeah. It's about so much more than just charity. It's about social justice. It's about creating a society that's truly equitable and compassionate, where everyone has the opportunity to thrive and to reach their full potential.
And it's a vision that requires a collective effort, a commitment from individuals and communities to actually put these principles into action. It's not a passive concept. It's a call to participate in building a better world.
And I think that brings us to the heart of what we've been talking about today. Gratitude and Zakat, they're not just these abstract ideas. They're powerful forces for personal and societal transformation. They're intertwined. They're essential parts of living a truly meaningful and fulfilling life.
They challenge us to move beyond ourselves, to see our interconnectedness, and to use what we have to make a positive impact. They remind us that we're all part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from this conversation?
I really hope they'll consider how, reflecting on their own blessings and practicing gratitude can inspire them to act more generously and to contribute to positive change in their own communities. It's a journey, it's an ongoing practice, but it's a practice that can really shape our character, deepen our faith, and empower us to make a real difference in the world.
That's a perfect note to end on. Gratitude and Zakat, they're not just destinations, they're ongoing practices. And they're practices that can truly transform our lives and the world around us. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep seeking the extraordinary within the ordinary.